Welcome to the Lion's Tears Ministry. This is Reverend Liz Jackson. Today's date is 2/3/25, and it means to tie, to owe, and to endanger. Let's look at that. To be guilty, make guilty, to endanger, to owe, and to tie. Okay, so we're going to look at the Chaldean implementation. It means to make one liable to penalty, used of a debt, and of an offense. So let's go to Daniel in the first part, because we are in the book of Daniel and in the book of Revelation and in the book of Matthew and all your apocalyptic books. So in order to understand time, I need you to understand that Daniel, Ezra, Esther, Matthew, Nehemiah, Revelation. And when I say Ezra, I mean all of Ezra, because NATO is in Bible prophecy. So you have to understand where we are at on our timeline. To get an understanding, again, let's look at Daniel from the beginning. Now, the choice young men. In the 3rd year of the reign of Joachim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem, and besieged it. Now, if you don't know what besieged means, he took it over. He came in, took it over. And the Lord God Almighty gave Joachim, king of Judah, into his hand, with part of the vessels of the house of God, which he carried into the land of Shinar, to the house of his God, and he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God. So, here we see that Joachim was besieged, Jerusalem was taken over by King Nebuchadnezzar. Understanding when all of this happens is a hard timeline hit. Why? Because at the same time Esther was married to Xerxes, a decree to kill all the Jews worldwide went out. And Esther petitioned Xerxes to make it stop and to revoke said petition. Now, Cyrus becomes king after Daniel is thrown in the lion's den, made, royal vizier or whatever you want to call him, because he understands science. He understands wisdom. He understands knowledge. And so when we look in verse 4, let's back up to 3. It says, the king spoke unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring forth certain of the children of Israel, and the king's seed, and of the princes. Verse 4 tells us these children were to be with no blemish, well-favored, skillful in all wisdom, cunning in knowledge, and understanding science, meaning that their God-given talents were being utilized against them because they were being taken and forced to teach, to minister, Daniel was thrown in the lion's den, but he was one of King Nebuchadnezzar's elected. So whenever I tell people that I feel like I'm just an oracle and that you all use me to divine and understand what my Father tells me to sort out the wheat from the weeds, that's exactly how I feel like you use me. And today I called the FBI, and all they wanted to do was cut me the fuck off every time I spoke. Again, I have done nothing to you but tell you the truth. And people hate that. And I'm okay with that. It's just the Messiah is alive. And Satan's hot and heavy. And the return of the Lord God Almighty, He's at hand. So when you go to Daniel chapter 2, we learn that the Lord God Almighty reminds Daniel of his return because he knew what was going to happen to Daniel in service of Nebuchadnezzar. I prayed for President Trump to become president again because we need the trumpets to sound. He understands the Abraham Accords. He understands how to bring peace to the Middle East. I understand who his soul is. I'm supposed to. It's part of my job description. It's what happens when you die. And then you come back. I don't appreciate being used, especially when all I've ever asked for you all was to help me. And no, I'm going to leave it at that.